I have made plenty of cakes in my time, and this delicious turtle cake turned out to be a complete flop. So stay tuned to see how I messed up this delicious cake. We starting out with our butter. I currently am using 2 sticks of room temperature butter. This is that delicious Kerrygold butter, but feel free to use whatever butter you like. I am also going to add 2.5 cups of white sugar. This is white granulated sugar. And I am going to add just 1/4 cup of oil. This cake is made from scratch, so of course we want to make sure that this cake has all the delicious moistness that it needs. I'm going to blend that all together, and when you blend it, you want to make sure in between your mixing you want to scrape the sides down. So I'm scraping the sides using my spatula, and then I'm going to go ahead and mix it some more. It should look nice, light and fluffy as it does here, looking almost like whipped cream. Now I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, a 1/2 teaspoon of butter flavor, and 1/4 teaspoon of caramel flavor. Caramel flavor is hard to find. If you can find it, then hey, definitely use this in this cake. It is so delicious. But if not, just use the vanilla and the butter flavor. It'll work perfectly. I am adding my eggs now, one at a time. We're going to mix this all together as well. My eggs are room temperature, and you see I'm breaking it away from the bowl and I'm mixing it in between each time I add my egg, because I want to make sure that all the ingredients are mixed well. This is my 3rd egg, and I'm going to go ahead and mix this, and then we will add our 4th egg, which will be our last one. So I'm using 4 room temperature eggs mixed in with our sugar mixture and our flavors and stuff, and butter. So I'm scraping the sides of the bowls also in between each mix, making sure that everything is well incorporated. Once you mix all your eggs together and you made sure that you scraped the bowl down, now we are going to get ready to get our dry ingredients together. Our dry ingredients are going to be consisting of using part cake flour and part all-purpose flour. I'm using 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 2 cups of cake flour. Now this area is where I had my accident, because I refused to use reading glasses. I thought I grabbed 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I used 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and then I added my 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And as you see, not only did I whisk it all together, but I also sifted. I'm adding my 1/4 cup of sour cream to this, and this is going to add that extra moistness to the cake. Now, when you're making a cake from scratch and you're using baking powder, you want to make sure you use the right measurements. And like I said, when I thought I was adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder, I added 1 tablespoon. So after I got all my dry ingredients all whisked together and sifted, I slowly started incorporating it into my wet ingredients, which is the butter and the eggs and the sugar. And I'm also going to have a little bit of buttermilk, and I'm just going to add that in between and rotate between the buttermilk and the dry ingredients. So I'm adding the flour first, and then I'm adding the buttermilk. I have 1 cup of buttermilk, and the dry ingredients is the 2 cups of cake flour, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and you want to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Not 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon. And I'm just repeating this because that was the thing that caused my cake to become a flop. So I'm just rotating the dry and the wet that I'm pouring in of the buttermilk. And you want to make sure you mix this all together. Now I do have my oven preheated at 350 degrees. I'm going to make this into a 2-layer cake, and I'm just scraping the sides down, and you can see how beautiful that cake was looking with as I was mixing it and everything, so soft and creamy looking. It was coming out so well. I was so happy. I just felt like I was doing such a great job with making this cake. And you can smell all of the flavors after I got everything put together and everything was incorporated. You can smell the butter flavor. You can smell the vanilla. I have 2 8-inch cake pans that I have greased and buttered and floured to make sure. And I'm putting those little wraps. Now, if you don't have these wraps, you can use an old dishcloth and soak it and wrap around it and pin it with a safety pin. I bought these off of Amazon. It actually came with a set of 4. I gave 2 to my mother. But yeah, I'm just doing 2 8-inch cake rounds, and they are going to bake in the oven for 32 minutes on 350 degrees. Now I am making the frosting. Now I'm just using, I thought I could use my tablespoon inside my espresso, but I couldn't. So I'm using actually 1 teaspoon of instant espresso. There I go again. 1 teaspoon of instant espresso, and I'm adding a heaping tablespoon of cocoa powder to mix with it. I'm going to add some hot water to it. Hot water to help activate those flavors of the cocoa and everything. And I'm also going to add 4 tablespoons or 4 teaspoons. Oh, there I go again. 4 teaspoons. Oh, is it 4 tablespoons? I'm adding 4. I can't see you guys. Please excuse me, but you're going to add your 4 tablespoons of butter in the microwave and get it melted. You can see my hot water right there, and I am going to add my cocoa and my instant espresso in there. I'm going to have these ingredients typed up at the bottom for those who want to try this recipe. So please ignore the measurements because, like I said, I do need reading glasses, but I am not ready to get them yet. I added my melted butter to the cocoa, and this is just going to add some really nice flavor to the frosting that I'm going to make. So I added the butter and I added the cocoa to the hot water. Now, what you can do is to add some extra depth of creaminess to this is probably add also 2 tablespoons of sour cream or cream cheese. Adding the cream cheese to this would have definitely made the frosting a lot creamier and probably easier to spread on my cake. I was pretty much experimenting at this point, but if you want, you can go ahead and just buy some already made chocolate frosting and use it on your cake. But I was trying my best to do it from scratch, which I have made chocolate frosting and other frostings from scratch, as you may have seen in some of my earlier videos. But like I said, this video is showing how I too make mistakes sometimes when making my cakes. But this is the frosting. That is my chocolate frosting that is going on the cake. And like I said, a little sour cream will probably definitely help this cake the frosting become a little smoother and creamier in texture. So this is my cakes when it came out of the oven. They rose nicely due to the baking powder, and everything was fine until I flipped it out, and then I noticed, what is wrong? Why is my cake up here crumbling? But then I took it to, maybe I put too much of the spray too much of the baking pan or whatever onto my cake pans. But then I noticed my frosting, because it didn't have enough fat in it to make it creamy, it was struggling to spread on the cake. So I was like, well, you know what? That is my favorite caramel sauce. I went ahead and stuck it in the microwave to get a little bit softer. And I wanted to put it in the middle because, like I said, this is a turtle cake. So I just added a little dab in the middle since the frosting didn't spread the way I wanted it to. And I just kind of went on and said, this cake is not going to anyone. This cake will be eaten by the house. So I'm going to go ahead and just enjoy it as is. So I went ahead and just added the caramel in the middle. Got the chocolate frosting, and you can see it's still crumbling apart. Why? Because I couldn't see. I added 1 tablespoon of baking powder instead of 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And this cake, I tell you, was so nice and moist. It was smelling so good throughout my house. And here you're going to see me do some more struggling. Look, can't get the frosting off of my spatula for nothing. I have my pecans there. It's not spreading because there's not enough fat. I didn't put enough butter, no sour cream. But you know what? I said, let me go ahead and nuke it in the microwave. Maybe that'll help it spread out a little bit more. Did it work? Not too much. Why? Because each time I tried to spread it, no, it just caused the cake to crumble even more. So I said, I'm just going to pour this over the cake like a ganache and let it be. So that's what you see me doing. Pouring the frosting over the cake like a ganache. And then I figured, I will spread it along the side. And that's how it ended up looking. I couldn't spread it because more cake kept falling off. I was getting so frustrated. I said, who cares? So I went ahead and just drizzled my caramel sauce on top of it and said, we're going to eat it either way. It's going to taste good. It has full of flavor with the butter, the vanilla, and the caramel flavor in the cake. I just didn't know what else to do. So I just slowly started to pull the caramel onto the edges. Figured if I let it run down, it'll hide a little bit of the imperfections. And that's how it ended up looking. And I said, and I'm going to still make the top of this cake look pretty. Adding my pecan halves on top of there. And just went all the way around. So if you look at the cake from the top view, it actually looks pretty nice. But then when you look at it from the side view, it's a hot mess. So then I said, okay, let me drizzle some chocolate sauce. So this was just some melted chocolate chips. And even I couldn't get the melted chocolate chips right. I said, you know what? I'm just about to splatter it all over it. I don't care. The whole cake was a flop. Anyway, I just went ahead and drizzled and drizzled. And did my boys see and smell this cake? Well, they smelled it first and came out of their rooms and was like, oh my, your cake smelled good. But what happened to it? Well,
got time to tell them about that.
Let's just say Mama thought she
you got time to tell them
knew what she was doing. But
good job.
She really need her reading glasses. Reading glasses and making sure your stuff is just right is so important. I went ahead and added a few more pecans on top of my cake, and I just let it be. I mean, the cake was already crumbling, but I really didn't care. This is what it looked like. A hot mess. I was trying to decide if I wanted to post this video or not, and I said, you know what? We're not perfect. We do make mistakes. So I cut it, and the cake was so delicious. Oh, man. This cake was so nice and moist. It was so full of flavor. It was so ugly. And then my daughter is standing in the doorway wondering what happened and just talking smack to me. But I did not allow her to be heard in this video, hence why I am doing this voiceover. So here I am slicing the cake. And like I said, this cake was very delicious and moist. I'm just going to have to redo this cake and make sure I do 1 teaspoon of baking powder instead of 1 tablespoon. And look, that first slice, oh, it fell, it broke, it just crumbled up, but it was so delicious. And then look, the caramel was just oozing down in the middle. I mean, this mug was just crumbly, just crumbled. Just a hot mess. I really didn't know what else to say. I mean, look at the caramel just oozing out. I mean, the cake was so good, but it was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe I messed up this cake. But it was so good. And did I find people to eat it? Yes, I did. I gave some to people whoever came by my house to visit. I said, y'all want some of this ugly cake? And they said, sure do. And I gave it to them. And guess what? They loved it. My daughter's boyfriend loved it. My goddaddy loved it. My goddaughter loved it. My kids loved it. It was so full of flavor. And it was so light and fluffy. Too fluffy for its own good. So if you like this video and if you would like me to redo this video sometime in the future and make it with the correct ingredients, please send a like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And don't do like I did. Make sure you have reading glasses or at least have somebody read the, measuring spoons and stuff for you. Thank you for watching. God bless and have a great day.